Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be. Good evening, in fact, as well, wherever you might be in the world. It's the three of us. We don't know where Ian is. I hope that doesn't mean
he said to me before he might not be able to make it today. He said he emailed you.
Oh no. Well, if he did, then I've ignored his email. That's the main thing. That's the primary thing. I always find it best to just ignore him. Actually. Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. So maybe you're working on your Maybe he's
Todd
what?
or Tom or Tim.
No, he's still building the rover or something. No,
the selling will be on fire. There'll definitely be something will be on fire, broken, or gone through a wall, or something like that. It's bound.
Yeah.
Bound.
Yeah.
Tom's got a friend. Has Tom's friend started visiting your channel as well? Again, that new thing I stood up for the schools, for my school stuff. Tom and someone else visits the videos every time. I can't remember the name of the other one.
Apparently, Tom has changed his name to Todd now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Or maybe it's Todd. I'll have to have a look. But well, very, very decent of them to take that time out of the day to come and visit the new channels. And Phil Hunter loves the video, and he's halfway through it. Yes. Old fart with the GoPro. Funny enough, old fart with the GoPro. Gentlemen, get them out. That's just what we were just discussing these before they start. And these, oh no, they are going to admit it. We were discussing my old Hero 3 still working, and Louis had something that we didn't really understand because what is that again?
Insta360.
Insta360. Ah, yes. So you're taking a picture of all of us. So yeah, I think I saw in the news this week that GoPro are also having yet more conniptions, some more trouble in GoPro land. I don't know if any of you caught any of that.
I think they lost their focus and
lost their focus. See what you did there. Very good. Very
He's here all week, folks.
Oh, yes.
No, they lost their focus on what it matters to people. And they are wandering a little. I don't know. I was testing this Insta360 camera because it has the plug-in, plug-out modules, so you can.
A necessity. You're saying 360 cameras are a necessity now?
No. The thing is, with these kind of cameras, these guys they have modules, so you can plug in a 360 module on the camera,
right?
And you get 2-in-1 camera, so it can be a 360 and can be a high quality action camera. Because
okay.
Yeah, don't go too far. Use my Hero 3 Plus.
Oh, it's also 3. Yeah. Hero 3 land. Yes.
Yeah, and
well, that was there you go. Funny enough, my lad uses one of those Chinese ones over this because he, it was that much cheaper that you.
And it has an HDMI. Does the GoPro have an HDMI?
No, don't think it does. Does it?
No,
it does via that connector, isn't it?
Yeah, it has an HDMI here somewhere.
Yeah, via that little. Mine's as old as yours.
Yeah,
but this has been as good enough for me. I remember when we were.
These cameras, okay. You get the advertisements of these cameras, and you see guys doing all kind of crazy stuff that they usually don't shoot the broken bones, broken legs that you go out on skiing. Well, that happens. So,
well, let's face it. The Hero 3 is good enough for us because most we like to do is hook it onto our Zimmer frames. We're not like downhill skiing or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's Zimmer frames down the supermarket.
Yeah. Because when DJI started putting the camera on the drones, they just literally killed the market for these kind of cameras. So now you have specialty cameras that go 30 times zoom and crazy time zoom and do this and do that. And there was a Chinese company that had a very interesting system, Xianghui or whatever it was, that had a gimbal camera, and they dropped that. So the market is a bit orphan of solutions. So we are already back to 5 years ago or 6 years ago that you have to, if you want to do something specific, you have to tinker with hardware and cutting carbon and printing 3D parts and building your own gimbal, etc., etc., etc. So,
yes, Back to the Future.
Yeah. That if you don't want to go to pick up a X5R or a X7, which got an arm and 2 legs, and you have to get that special connector. So things are quite crazy, and those SJ cameras that Bruce was showing, they're interesting because they're cheap. So if you have a crash, you won't regret it much.
Yeah. Well, that's why my lad uses one of them. Exactly that reason.
And
because he knows his father will shout at him if he crashes the GoPro.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're good enough. If you go to one of these crazy cameras, for instance, these guys, Insta360, they sell an adapter to put the camera on a Mavic. Well,
yes.
Then you cover the GPS and the sensors below, so it's quite stupid. But yeah, they have it, and apparently they sell it because they still have it on their price list. But these days, you have to go and tinker with hardware.
Yeah, that Best Buy warranty in the US, that just, I have friends that even here, they purchase their cameras from Best Buy in the US and then send them back there should there be a little
I bet they've taken a hammering from the mini quad crowd, though, with the racing, with those Best Buy warranties, because I see people on the vlogs and things just going in and swapping camera after camera after camera because they've smashed them up.
Yeah, no, well, who knows whether they're going to survive the current situation. I find it, Ash Har was going to come on, droning on. I stole his picture of the new thing for our channel art today, and Ian's not here. I mean, I wonder if anybody we know might be under an NDA for the 27th. Oh, here comes Nicola. Nicola's not under an NDA for the 27th. How now, do Nicola?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Well, we won't mention the plane on the hill. No, don't mention the plane on the mountain.
Don't mention the plane on the hill.
No.
He's removed. I'm intrigued at why he's got a beer fridge above the back of his head. That's what that looks like to me.
A what?
What's that behind you? Looks like you've got a beer fridge in the sky.
Okay. I'll let you keep believing that because it's fun.
Yeah,
in the sky. It's
you're a YouTuber, you're a multimillionaire. That's the sort of thing you could have. You could have a floating beer system. That's definitely what it could be.
That's the one he took out of his Lamborghini.
Yeah, sounds so realistic, yeah.
So you're in a different room. How is flying and life treating you this week?
It's been pretty lazy.
Pretty lazy. Oh, I see Ian's in the comments. So I hope you're enjoying yourself whether you are there, Ian. Good evening to you. So he's not in for this, and I'm not for this anyway. The NDA for the thing on the 27th, which is the ugly new DJI thing. I've even forgotten what the name is.
It's this dream or come true or whatever those crazy marketing words that they always use. It's the dream. It's whatever it is.
Yes.
Dreams come true and whatever. That's the usual stuff.
A clean new life or some such. All right, well, let's actually try and talk about model aircraft and drones, things like that this week, just for a change. So Bruce's crash video has already been mentioned in the comments. It's a great video, Bruce. Well done. Love it. I'm not sure why you couldn't have got it out quicker. I mean, it seems to me like it was a simple task.
I know. I wasted several hours a day sleeping. I don't know what I was thinking.
Come on, you need.
But how many crashes are there in total?
I think there's over 250. I didn't actually count them, but I just counted the files I extracted and thought, okay, I know some of them have got a couple of crashes in each, so I just sort of, it's around 250.
And those jets, when they go in, those people must be just tearful. The money that goes in there.
Yeah, and having to go home and explain to the wife why they've lost the equivalent of the new, fitted kitchen in less than a second. Must be pretty hard going.
But they never have they? Because you say it only costs like 30% or 10% of what it actually costs. So
we just use what the women say. Oh, this old thing, I've had this for years. It's just been in the back of the wardrobe. You just never saw it before, you know?
No, that's
the going rate. That's the going rate. Yeah, don't think they don't know. They just pretend they don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think I could afford just the servos in one of those things, let alone all the other. I mean, they're expensive beasts, aren't they? There's a lot of money, and I can't remember. I think and a heck of a crosswind landing. Why on earth were they even in the air?
Well, money doesn't buy skill and judgment. I mean, I guess you just, I certainly wouldn't have flown a model that size, that F-15 in those conditions, but I guess they figured they would. And, I mean, I can understand I fly small models in that sort of wind because it's fun and exciting, but I'm not going to throw the equivalent of a small car up in the air and hope it comes down safely. So,
yeah, it's quite extraordinary.
But okay, I understand, and I know a few people that have those crazy models, those huge, expensive models, and they rely heavily on piloting skills. But with all this advent of flight controllers and automatic stabilizers, doesn't it make it easier to fly these crazy models? Just an open question, Bruce.
The more you have to go wrong. And there are a lot of them now do have GPS and stabilizers and things. And back in the early days, it was all, manual control. But now they've got, a lot of them have gyros just on the nose leg, for example, to get them a straight takeoff run. And so the technology is increasing. But you reach a point where you think, well, I'm no longer flying this thing. I'm just moving it around. And where's the fun in that? I know from my point of view, I like to fly stuff. I have FPV craft with onboard stabilizers and all sorts of stuff, but I never fly them in stable mode. And I only have them there so that, worst case, I can flick return to home if something goes wrong. And that's the only time I use the flight controllers.
I can speak for myself, for instance, that Zio HD 250 plane that comes with their own flight controller. That thing would be extremely difficult to fly without assistance.
Yes. Most a lot of the Zodcraft are like that. I've found that the airframe designs are not aerodynamically that good, but they throw a stabilizer and that takes over. It's like modern jet fighters. You couldn't fly them without a stabilizer. I found with the 250 as well. I think it was 1 in 10 launches was successful until I put the stabilizer in. Then it's fine. It's just like magic. Just complete change of craft.
No, that thing you just pick up. Done. What's the fun on that? Okay, it's fun when you're 100 meters high and you turn off the stabilization, and then, well, it's 3 mistakes above the ground, so at least you have some time to get it back.
But, 3 mistakes? 3? A whole extra mistake?
Come on,
wow.
It's 3 mistakes because you have 3 positions which is on your radio.
What's a mistake, Lou? I don't think I've ever had one of those. Can you elaborate on what that might be? I mean, I'm perfect. You've seen my flying.
No, we have the mistake experts over here.
Well, he's the expert of these modern flight controllers and these modern poorly built things.
I think hashtag where did that mountain come from?
Yeah, exactly, and needing them when so very, very far away from home. But Nicola, you have been flying some of the newer, ready to go autopiloted wings and things, haven't you? He's not listening, is he? He's watching telly.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
The past 5 minutes.
Yeah, we were talking about the cause last week. You won't know, Divvy, or afterwards he was moaning how we wouldn't let him in edgeways, and he was absolutely right. We're talking about you've been flying some of the newer flight controllers, the ready to go, away we go things in some of your aircraft, haven't you? You think you told me you had some of the sort of trial systems, back when you were doing all that flying, like 3 or 4 years ago.
Which controller are we talking about? The MyFly Dream one or the Matic Wing thing?
The MyFly Dream one, I think. The ones you had that were pre-programmed and ready to go for particular aircraft.
Well, it does have a few presets in it. Not only for MyFly Dream planes, but also for a few of the more popular ones. But yeah, that seems to be working pretty well. Still is, though. And literally, you just plug everything and go.
You don't calibrate a compass or anything like that? You just go?
I'm not sure there's a compass to be calibrated, actually. Haven't done any calibrations. Not even for airspeed.
And you've taken it for your normal VLOS flights of about 25 kilometers?
Yep.
And just completely happy with that idea?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Pretty amazing.
Maybe if I dig into it a little bit, maybe I can try and... I haven't found anything wrong with the way it's stabilizing the plane to, dig into the PIDs and stuff like that. But that's about all that you can really maybe touch if you're not happy about how your plane is flying.
The people chase PIDs, and with the Argipilot stuff now, I just do one auto tune and leave it. I don't touch it after that. And then people will say, well, if you make it 0.004 for this and just a little bit of this, and then if you move the weight just here, and if you do, and if the sun is there and the wind is there, then it'll be 55 times more efficient. And I just think it's rubbish. It's just rubbish. As long as...
Well, the only thing that I have found consistently to give me slightly better or better efficiency across a few models, though for some reason it doesn't work on some of them, has been making the model tail heavy on purpose.
Just making it a little bit more unstable.
Just letting the autopilot handle that, which means trying to do your best to avoid switching into manual.
I was just going to say that. Yes, that's a snag when you operate like that.
A few years ago with the FPV Raptor, that is how efficiency went up, 30 or 40% just by making it, and you did have to make it quite a bit tail heavy. But then as long as the autopilot was working and engaged and stabilizing, it was all right. I'd switch it into manual mode just to hone my skills because it was a fun roller coaster ride then.
Bruce, what do you think would why would the efficiency go up if you put the CG back?
Because if you look at a normal aircraft standard configuration, you've got the wing providing lift, but the tail is providing a downward force to produce stabilization. So it's actually opposing lift. So the less load you have on the tailplane, the more efficient the aircraft is, and you need less load as you move the CG back. Because if you've got a forward CG, it has to be more downward force on the tailplane to hold the nose up, basically. So what you want is to get that CG as far back as possible. But once you go past a certain point, you get a total loss of pitch stability, which is why you need a flight controller to take over from that.
I
knew that's a brilliant answer. Brilliant. We didn't even get the chalkboard out for that. That's the brilliant answer.
We didn't get Bruce Cat.
No Bruce Cat, yes. Yeah, we didn't get any Bruce Cat. You're absolutely right. Yeah, but people do take that too far, then they're taking the CG back, because you just, as long as you're aware of it, then you are aware of it.
With these modern fighter aircraft, they deliberately make them unstable in pitch because then they can get faster maneuverability. If it's actually, all they have to do is basically, instead of giving a command, just start it, and the natural negative stability will take over and cause massive pitch changes. So that the F-35 and all those other aircraft, they are very much negatively stable, and without the fly-by-wire computer, you haven't got a hope in hell of controlling them.
yeah, it's interesting, and it is interesting to watch how some people load things up, and the just, you know, if the flight controller went, that would be it. Oh, look out! Oh, look, he's gonna argue with us about flight controllers or something.
Oh
now.
my God!
I'm saying nothing.
Well, if you've got what's built, oh no, it's your lamp. I thought those were the new. Last week, somebody managed to spot he was building a one of those robots.
Pixar. Sponsored by Pixar.
Yeah,
Look at that.
sponsored by Pixar. He's shilling for Pixar now. Oh my goodness me! There it is. There it is. That's quite cool. Is that motorized?
With the lamp, the little
It
robot
will
in
be,
the lamp.
yes.
Yeah.
One of my kids said, "Dad, I want you to build me a robot," which now meant I've got to build 2 of them because I have 2 children.
Right.
So that starts
Two
into
children, yeah.
2 children. So it started off with a 3D printed top of a Wally. He's going to be Arduino controlled with a remote controller. And I haven't
you
figured
might as well just sling a Pixhawk in him. Come on, do it properly.
So
GPS in the head.
yeah, it was. He's quite cute, isn't he? I got R2 here.
It's very good.
I got R2 here.
Very impressed. Very, very impressed. Well, we were just talking about negative stability, and you turned up. So there we are. I mean, what more can we say?
I'll leave now.
It's all, all the clues are there. So, Nicola, just to make sure we do talk to you this time, what aircraft have you been flying this week?
I've been able to go out flying, and the weather has turned for the worst. So hopefully within the next few days, I will go flying again. And in the meanwhile, I'll also be working on some reviews of those planes that I've already flown. I'm going to go out fly them again just to verify my initial assessment of those planes. So I can happily publish accurate reviews, and then I'm going to be moving on to the next
reviews.
one.
Accurate reviews? Are you talking nonsense, man? You could have banged the reviews out and just get on to the next one.
There's no such thing as accurate reviews.
Yeah.
All right. Sure. Just want to see if I can break them the second time around. If not, then they're probably all right.
I see there's a new XUAV Talon, but made out of that MDD, FDD, whatever that other foam is they use.
Oh, they've had that for a while. Come on.
Well, there's people. Isn't there a new version of it?
MFM, wasn't it? MFM.
Yeah, whatever the new foam is, but then there's another version of the Talon with a fatter fuselage, and people are moaning. It looks really quite nice. I think, because when I look at these things, I think, well, can I get my hands in there to put a camera and all the other stuff in there? You know, but people are saying, "Oh, it's too far. It'll be very inefficient." Blah blah blah. But I'm just thinking, well, no, it'd be easy to fit the gear in it though. But it's made of that stuff that costs more money, and I don't understand why that foam costs quite so much money.
Because it's not extruded, it's not injection molded like EPO. It comes out in huge blocks of foam, and then it's CNC milled into shape, which takes apparently a lot of effort and time, and a lot of waste.
Yes. Okay.
But you don't get the upfront cost of paying for a mold for it, which probably makes it a little bit cheaper, like upfront costs for them. But then you have all that machine time to get it milled into shape. I've had a few of their planes from the one model that had the prop spinning around the tail boom, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember that. Wow, that's a long time ago. Yeah,
I had 3 versions of that plane as it was evolving. Yeah, and it was quite fun to see how they were changing the design of parts, adjusting, trying to make it better, and it was for the most part becoming better. But then all that CNC milling, and here and there you'd see parts mismatching, the fuselage halves would mismatch. I don't know. It's weird. And yes, the foam is friggin' tough. I mean, seriously, you can just sit on that thing, jump on that thing, doesn't matter. You're not gonna damage it. But is it really worth it? Because any crash would jumble up the electronics anyway, regardless of whether the foam's gonna break or not. So
don't forget, folks, watch Bruce's crash video for a how not to series of occurrences. So I think we're mandated to get an advert for that crash video in every like 10 minutes now.
Is this a mid-roll? Is this one of those horrible mid-rolls?
That's your mid-roll ad. Yeah.
I'll get a copy.
Don't forget to watch Bruce's crash video. I should have got the URL. Twice. Hi there, Kirk.
Or as Nicola would say, 3 times.
Yeah. Well, third time's a charm. What was that aircraft called with the prop and the tail? And that does seem like about 1 million years ago.
It was called the One.
And what was that? 4 or 5 years ago now.
But
at least 3, maybe 4.
Yeah. Long back.
What was that multiplex was using?
Ilapio, they called it.
Is Ilapor, how do you stack it with all those types of forms, Nicola?
How do I stack what? The MFM?
And category and crash resistance.
Well, like I said, you can easily jump on that foam and you'd never break it, and you can also bend it quite a lot without it breaking too. But, having that thing hit the ground at speed, you're going to break electronics even if the foam doesn't break. And that plastic nose piece that they had designed for it was also something that would go immediately in a nose first crash. So even if the foam doesn't break, you're going to be breaking a critical piece of the plane, supposedly the whole FPV thingamajig that's at the front, which is plastic. And also that thing was in no way usable for mapping or any sort of serious aerial work of any sort. This was purely FPV, and those kits from that foam were like $400-500, which wasn't reasonable for purely an FPV plane. And also that whole plastic mechanism at the back for spinning the prop, that caused a ton of vibrations.
And these aircraft are generally 4 or 5 times the cost of the conventional old EPO one, aren't they? So you've got to weigh it up. You've got to have a very, very special reason. I'm a bit lost as to what that reason would be to purchase one. But I see there's another one kicking about now, and people are moaning about it. So it's the sort of thing Bruce would have, because Bruce would always have the Rolls Royce of whatever was needed. To go and fly in the fog from his back garden. And why did you do that, Bruce?
Because I could.
But you're coming out of your lockdown. You've pretty much got rid of it, haven't you?
Not coming out. Ours has been a much stricter lockdown than anywhere else in the world. We've called it level 4, which has meant we basically have to stay home. They have armed guards at the top of the drive. They shoot you if you try and get out. So it's been very, very stringent. And so what we're going to do is roll back to what they call a level 3, which is like the same kind of level that everyone else is at the moment. Because I look at other places around the world and people are out doing things and whatever. And it's like there's fewer people, but people are still doing things. It's not totally forbidden to go outside your house. Here, the only legitimate reasons for leaving your house are for exercise or medical care, or if you're an essential worker. The rest of us have to stay home. So we're going back to a thing where some businesses will be able to start up so long as there's no personal contact. So, for example, takeaways will be open, but you can't dine in a restaurant, and you can buy stuff, but the shops won't be open. They have to deliver it by courier. So we're going to sort of level at the UK and Australia have been at for some time, but by having a much harsher lockdown initially, we've really knocked the socks off this particular problem, and they're hoping that this, now that we've gone back to a much lower level, this sort of winding things back a bit will enable the economy to pick up a little bit, And then in another 2 weeks, they'll review. They may go down to what they call level 2, which will take us another step back. So we're sort of well on top of it. We just hope that something doesn't go awry and that the whole thing blows up again, which it could easily do.
Oh, come on, Bruce. Your activity is part of this social activity, right? You provide guidance to all the world of RC modelers around the world. So that's essential activities.
Well, yeah, mental health. I'm the mental health guy. I mean, they talk about physical health. You got to do your exercise. Well, I'm keeping people smiling, and that's very important.
Let's do.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant you were the reason hospitals had to have mental health sections. I thought that's where you were going with that.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm a restricted substance.
Let's start to ask Jacinta or whatever it is to give you a full-time exemption.
Well, yeah, actually, fortunately, the council, local council, has said no one's allowed to go to the airfield and you can't go to your hangars or anything because goodness knows why. Anyway, once the government announced that they were winding things back a bit, now I can go back out to my workshop legally. And CIA, interestingly enough, announced that the maintenance of full-size aircraft was an allowed activity under the very harsh lockdown because they realised if you leave an aircraft hanging for 4 weeks and birds get in the engines and they're like any mechanical device. If you don't use it, it's more likely to fail. So they realised there's going to be extra costs involved if aircraft weren't properly maintained according to the schedule. So they said, yeah, you can go and maintain the aircraft. But it's going to be interesting now to see whether the flight schools can carry on because it's hard to keep a 2-meter distance between the instructor and the pilot in the cockpit.
Yeah, that'd be tricky. We had our chat tonight from El Presidente. They've done very well. We should finish on May the 1st, but we'll find out on Thursday if it's going to be extended. But I think the clue to whether we're going to get extended is the fact they've called out another 75,000 soldiers, and they are employed until the end of June. So I think there's a bit of a clue in there. But they've got a very good rollout program or restart program planned. I have a hunch we'll stay locked down until the second week of May, and then I reckon they'll hit the button on the slow rollout, and they have suppressed it. We're also quite harsh. There's no alcohol, no cigarettes. There's talk that the no alcohol ban will remain for the rest of the year, and that's quite interesting. So people are going a bit nuts about that, a bit nuts about the smokes. But it's we haven't matched our murder rate yet. Some COVID-19 deaths. So
crime has still been. There's been some what do you call opportunist crimes going on, isn't there, during the lockdown? I think anyone who's caught out without good excuse should be shot because they're probably a criminal doing something bad. I mean, let's be serious. Even in New Zealand,
they did kill a bloke in his. I think I said last week they did kill a bloke in his garden for drinking here. So yeah.
What was it?
Yeah,
was it an off-brand beer or something?
Yeah, exactly. Low class beer. Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
yes. But it's going to be interesting what this is going to do, firstly, to the hobby as a hobby, and secondly, to the industries on which the hobby relies. Because if this whole thing's going to cause massive redundancies and economic downturn, they reckon a massive depression is going to last at least a decade. I can't see it myself, but that's what some of the pundits are predicting. In which case, the hobby is a luxury. It's not a necessity. So we could see some massive reductions in the scale of the hobby, and the businesses that are, like Banggood and the others, and more importantly, the smaller businesses are probably going to go real tough. And then you may see a lot of brands disappearing or being bought up by bigger companies, reducing the choice, which will put the price up, which means they'll be even less attractive. I wonder what we'll see happening. We all go back to a little balsa wood chuck gliders because it's all we can afford.
That's just what I was going to say. I was just going to say, surely we'll go back to balsa wood and aero modeling as it was before the rot set in.
Have you priced balsa wood recently? No one can afford balsa wood anymore.
I haven't. It's
terrible.
Do you know? I don't even know where I'd get balsa wood. Our last proper model shop shut down a couple. Well, yes. A couple of years ago, and I guess I would have to order it online. I honestly have no idea where I would get balsa wood from within 200 miles of here. No idea at all.
It's going to be good though. You'll be able to shuffle down the high street and say, "Want to buy a flight controller?" stopped, because it'll be all, stocks will be limited and everyone's blowing up their ESCs. You have the last 4 motors that you've got. You can't fly that because you might burn out a motor. It's going to be, interesting times.
Stock is going down. I've noticed it this week. I've been trying to order some parts for little Jimmy over there, and it's not easy. Robot Shop is running out of stuff. We're beginning to see that China delay, because obviously they were 3 months behind us, so they obviously had enough stock to keep going for a period, but we're now in the midst of actually the China delay is going to hit now for probably 2-3 months, and then the local delays will hit. We're probably not going to see stock levels right September time now, before, so it's clearly having an effect, and it's interesting stuff as well.
I was just went to a media market, which is a kind of large electronics reseller, to buy an HDMI cable. I wanted a specific one, and the shelves were empty, and the employees were telling me, sorry, either you buy the $1,000 HDMI cable or you don't buy. And I said, thank you.
You took the gold one then, didn't you?
Those cryogenically treated cables, you get a much better tone on the audio, and the picture is just that little bit sharper, don't you find?
It's just that, it helps the clarity.
The bit switches to one much faster. They have, come on, I wanted a 1 meter cable, so I went to the shop and tried to buy it, and the shelves were empty. And the guy was telling me, people just bought everything, not only the toilet paper, but everything. So
but you won't need cables soon. 5G replaces all the cables.
Yeah. Unless you burn the towers like they do in UK.
Yes,
but what sense does that make? Why would you need cables? What are you gonna do with them? Wipe your ass?
No, that's toilet paper, Nicola. I can see. Don't get confused. It could be very painful.
Well, apparently the stores run out of toilet paper, but why the hell would you buy up all the cables?
Come on.
I think it's because in a zombie apocalypse, you want the best possible soundtrack playing in the background. You want the highest quality audio as they all arrive.
Well, I know for a fact that people were going out and buying white goods and other electronics en masse, ready for the apocalypse, and then to sell it back again when people wanted it. There were some people I know were walking out of the big box stores in the UK. We only have one now.
Cables, come on.
Yeah, even cables.
That's the last thing I would think of.
I suppose with cables, it's things like that second TV in that bedroom, which you've ignored for 6 months, that the wife now wants fixed. It's all of that little stuff. Everyone's painting their fence. Everyone's getting this jobs done around the home they wouldn't normally do.
That's true.
So I suspect it's just the result of, that.
We're not now. One of the first things they're going to open up is hardware stores. But to buy anything in a hardware store, you have to go in with your ID, and you have to have a jolly good reason of why you're buying hardware, and they're going to record what you buy.
I think that has already been applied to buy the Hotel Evo, the new ones.
What, to use as a hammer?
No. We need a special code and a secret password to buy one of those newer Hotel Evos, because apparently they're on sale, but I haven't seen anyone yet. So
I've seen some more reviews this week. I've seen a few more this week. Yeah. The two which look good. To be fair, okay, you can't trust them because they are reviews. So at the end of the day, as Bruce said earlier, you should only ever make your own decision. It doesn't matter who says it. At the end of the day, if you look at 10 reviews and they all say it's great, and you've got enough info in there that you can make your own decision, then fine. But when anyone's putting up footage of a drone, there are 100 things you can do to make one look good, one look bad. H.264, H.265. There's 2 color profiles on the DJI. There's 2 bit rates on the DJI. You can skew it whichever way you want in reality. But I have to say, what I've seen, I'm impressed with. So much so, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. Their problem is, though, will they be able to deliver? Or will they even survive the next 6 months? What
are we talking about? Which model?
Autel.
Autel Evo 2.
Okay.
Yes,
I've not seen that.
Well, interesting you should say about can you trust reviews. You see that Huawei got caught using DSLR images as a representative of their phone. I think, was it Samsung did that earlier too?
I think everybody's doing that.
Someone else has been done on that as well, didn't it? Look, there are sites. Reviews are subjective. I can love something, Bruce can hate it, and I can genuinely say I think it's great, and Bruce can genuinely say it's crap, and neither of us are wrong. So at the end of the day, what you have to do is make your, well, I'm wrong clearly, but you have to make your own decision, you know. But no, so far, I always go by the basics. What does the footage look like? It's a big old thing, though. If you watch the review, it's a lump of a drone.
Reminds me of the DJI thing, doesn't it? It's about that size, isn't it? Or maybe not quite that big.
It's big. It's bigger than a Mavic, but it's got a 7-amp 3S battery in it, which is
interesting. Why they go for 3S if they're going to have a big battery? I would have thought they'd go for 4S and get better efficiency.
Yeah.
Or 6S.
Yeah.
Because nothing succeeds like success.
Oh, there you go. But then at what point do watt hours and stored capacity and fiddly, if you get up into big 6Ss, are you never going to be able to move them outside of your front room?
I suppose the problem for 3S versus 4S, you know, it's got more poke, but then again, they don't need that poke. But then again, they've got the weight, so they do need that poke because of the size of the damn things. So the advantage is less sag really for them on the battery. If you've got more voltage, they can do the things a bit better that way. But
yeah, but if you've got more voltage, you need less current, and current is where you get your losses, I2R losses. Yeah. So you reduce the current, you reduce heating resistive losses. So you did get small improvements in efficiency. But I'm surprised that they're not using lithium-ion cells, because it can't be a big current draw. If you use a big enough high enough voltage pack, you go to lithium-ion, you're going to get a lot more watt hours in that box.
Could be interesting to see what DJI do.
The battery is 3S 7,000 milliamp hours lithium polymer.
Yeah.
On a copter. That is a weird choice.
It's a big battery.
It really depends on the current draw, because now with those 21700 lithium-ion batteries, you can get a little more punch in terms of the draw of those cells. I don't think you can be able to get to a shop and buy standard lithium-ion batteries and use them, because they will explode on the first flights.
Autel have said today it's available. This week it's available. They've now
not going to draw 60 amps, are they, Louis? I mean, one of those quads that size won't draw 60 amps, I'm pretty sure. And most of those, like the 18650 cells, you get 30 amp discharge versions of those. So if you've got 2 of those in parallel and 4 in series, that's going to give you about that capacity, but it's going to be able to handle the load quite easily.
Yeah, I don't see it being an issue. But they said it's available. They've even put an ad out. I have sent them an email actually to say, is this thing officially available in the EU? From a certification point of view, CE, it's got a CE mark on it, but no one really knows if there is any official.
Which CE certification? The China export one or the real one?
Yeah, well, that's the question, isn't it? So I've asked about that. So we're waiting to see what they come back with. I know they're looking for dealers in Europe, but they've been hampered by that because of COVID-19. They were hoping, I believe they were hoping to have set up a number of new dealers for this, but they haven't been able to do that. So again, with what, it's not the words of saying whatever comes from DJI. I think we pretty much know what's coming from DJI. It's going to be interesting to see if anyone wants to spend £700, let alone £1,500 as the Pro model is in the UK. It's a lot of money. It's an awful lot of money right now.
What's special about this thing?
It's a Mavic 2 Pro.
The Mavic 2 Pro.
It's a Mavic 2 Pro. Look, the Autel is a Mavic 2 Pro. It's Mavic 2 Pro 18 months later with a few extra bells and whistles.
Okay, and a lot cheaper, I assume.
No,
£700 sounds cheaper than the Mavic.
That's the DJI one. That's the Autel's 1,500.
So, and it's going to get the same luck as the the one from GoPro, the GoPro Karma had, because then DJI will launch the new Mavic and will instantly kill all the news and will be a jump ahead on features.
Is Autel really in the news anyway? I've never seen an Autel anything ever in my life.
I think they have done well on this, though. I think their marketing, they've clearly put them in the right people's hands on YouTube. Okay, if you look at
what's the market? It's the market. What's 5, 10,000, 15,000 people at the most?
I don't think it's as big as they think. I think we said this before. DJI are very good at creating their own market. For people will, but that doesn't mean that transitions outside of it. And I think GoPro felt that very, very quickly and very hard. GoPro sat there and thought, we're going to get every Brad on board, and everyone who's bought one of our cameras is going to buy one of our drones.
Yeah.
The problem is they couldn't get it past that weekend. They took everyone away because by the end of it, they only had about 2 left.
That's right.
That's a true story there, folks.
It's a terrible thing. It was an awful thing. How they ever thought. And we could all see it. It was just like, all right, put your money down on which day will DJI announce whatever it is they're going to announce to smash this out of the park. And they did, didn't they? They got it out. I seem to recall that after so long ago now that the Karma actually delayed, but DJI would have coincided that.
Mavic Air, I think, was what they killed it with, if I remember. The original Mavic Air, it must have been about the same price point. I think it must have been, because it wasn't the Mavic Pro. It was the Mavic Pro.
Are you sure it wasn't like a Phantom 4? Are you sure it wasn't longer ago than that?
Could have been, yeah, it could have. The funny part about it was, anyone who ever seen inside the Karma, the first thing you'd have looked at is the GPS antenna mounted in the middle of the ESCs. So the first thing anyone who knew how to make these things looked at and went, "Really? You're putting that there? Oh,
that's where the compass should go, eh?"
Yeah, and it was like,
I'm sure it was on a PowerPoint somewhere done by a bunch of smart guys that measured all the pros and cons of putting it there. Come on, Ian, don't be so negative.
But then again, it wasn't that was the problem. It was
put it on the bottom. Because most of them ended up upside down anyway.
It was the piece of plastic.
That's right.
It's
that was the place for the crash.
No, the story goes that weekend they had all of the press there. They took everyone away for a weekend, and the first one went up and came down, and the second one went up and then came down, and that's how the rest of the day went. And I believe there was 4 or 5 went down in the first few hours of the first day. And what I can't get my head around is, if that happens with, say, 15, 20 people, how had that not happened before then? Isn't it? Let's be honest.
I think that was their business model. I think the guy running it was actually an ex-printer designer, and he figured, we'll basically give the drone away and make a fortune selling propellers.
Sorry, gentlemen. Using the first principle of Mr. Steve Jobs, you were using it wrong.
Yeah, that's the truth. But no, it'll be interesting. We got the DJI one now, obviously, the end of the month. I could talk about this because I'm not under any NDAs, so I'm fine. I tell you what I found interesting in this, though, and I'm going to upset a few people here. No one here, but what I found very interesting was everyone tripping over themselves to have the scoop on this on Twitter and Facebook. And
did you get the instruction manual from the Brazilian Air Authority?
Yes. Yeah. But
so I don't even know about that. Well, tell me about what's that kicking about?
The manual and images, all of this came from the Brazilian Certification Authority. So all of these images were leaked by them. No one else.
Okay.
Okay. And there was a little bit. There's this bit of tripping over everyone's doing. Drone DJ, the Twitter leaker from DJI. He isn't from DJI, but he's that bloke Olosaf or whatever his name is, and others, and they all trip over themselves to say, exclusive here or exclusive there. And look, if it's a leaked image, it's a leaked image. Put it out there. Talk about the image. It doesn't matter who gets it first, but there's so much fighting now over the affiliate income. It's so low. I've been a part. I don't think you've ever been a part of the DJI one, have you, Bruce? You've said no. I have been for some years, and I've tried to use it honestly and the best way I could, in the sense of people should be able to figure out what it is and know what they're doing. But the income on it is so low now because there's been no products. Everyone is tripping over themselves to try and generate something, and that's, I found that more interesting than anything else. It's
well, DJI are very, very good at creating the bubble and getting people at the hype cycle. They're very, very, very good at it. The DJI products are always preceded by a leak. Always, and they're very good
The thing
at
that don't
selling it
sell
up.
boats, isn't it?
Oh yes, it's so much wisdom in one so young.
But you see, Ian knows about leaks being from Wales.
Yes.
Oh, come
and it's
on.
always raining here. And it's always raining. But no, it looks interesting. I will be ordering one. I will order it on day one. And there's a very simple reason. I have DJI credit I must spend because they have changed their terms and conditions.
Than that, Ian. You got to get a better excuse than that.
No, I have to. No, I will lose it if I don't.
I have to.
Are you going to blow that 62p of money you got with Banggood as well?
Blow that 62p of money from Banggood. I've got to get rid of that. And I do have a little bit of credit. I've saved my DJI credit for 3 years. I have, so I've got a bit there. So I will be ordering it. Whether I'll keep it or not, I don't know. But I will have this one in hand because I'm not ordering anything else right now. There's no point. There's
even an hotel Evo?
Well, I can't get it on DJ credit. I can only deal. I can do any deal as long as it's in DJI credit right now.
Have you asked? You better ask, guys.
Do you think there'll be a lot of second-hand drones going soon as people lose their jobs and have to get some money to pay the bills? Could there be some real deals out there?
I think there probably could be. I think you're going to see it in the UK. With the change in legislation,
you're going to see it in Europe because now we have also the new regulations coming in effect. So I think we will be starting to see some drones appearing on the eBays of the world. So that might be a curious reason because even today on a Facebook group, that topic is DJI in Portugal. Guys that say, "Oh, I just bought Mavic, whatever," and what are the rules? And then one of the moderator comes in and says, "These are the rules, and from July 1st you'll have to do this." And the guy said, "How can I sell it fast without losing too much money?" So
it is interesting. Did you guys see the article I put on Twitter, the Chinese article about DJI? I don't know if you saw that one at all.
Where did that article come? It didn't come out of Shanghai, did it, by any chance?
I can't remember where it came from, but it came out of
I didn't see it. Tell me, because I've had some conversations with people in China in the last 2 weeks.
It's just an article. Okay, it was one where there was press there in an event where DJI held, and Frank was there, the CEO himself. And,
wow, that's unusual.
It was unusual. And what I found very interesting was even they were saying it was very unusual. Do you know what I mean? So you had the Chinese-based media saying it's extremely unusual for him to be seen dealing with the media and public. And it is interesting that over the years there's been a lot of rumors, but the fact of even their own media are saying it's unusual. I just think the guy doesn't like being out there. But one of the things he reiterated was DJI isn't a drone company. They didn't start as a drone company. They started as an electronics company, and that's where they intend it to end up. So it will be interesting to see. They were dispelling a lot of the rumors about these mass layoffs. They said I don't think there's mass. There's layoffs. That appears to be the case, but I don't think it's mass. But it was just a very interesting article. Whether you can trust it or not out of China, you never know. But
well, that's it. When the person that contacted me out of China asking me questions, I thought, who's this? Yeah. And it's hard to verify, isn't it? It's like,
yeah. But it is interesting that their own media is saying he is very unusual, and he very rarely gets involved with the media and everything. So he's clearly still around. He's clearly still there. You know,
we are living in unusual times, so
yeah. But he's got some. Sorry, say again, Louis.
No. We are living in unusual times, so what might have been unusual may become the normal now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've got
and look at it in another perspective. DJI has been under attack for all the bad things of the drones, their drones flying on the hands of doing bad flights and irregular flights and all that. And he has to step in and say, no, we are the good guys. Let us sell more drones. So it's probably him putting up his weight as a CEO and putting his name, although he's not a very recognizable figure in the world, but he's putting his reputation behind the company.
It is interesting.
He must be,
sorry, carry on.
But, so I was just saying, he must be right up there in earnings, mustn't he? But I bet you very, very few people would actually know who he is.
Yeah. And I found that bit very interesting. You know, he could have been seen as the next Elon Musk in the sense of as known as these guys are. DJI is now that big. He could be as known as them, yet he clearly shies away from that. He clearly doesn't want that, isn't it?
Does anyone of us know who is the CEO of Xiaomi, which is clearly a much bigger company than DJI?
But not in a global brand sense. DJI in their world is, you know, they are one of the biggest. Okay, we've come to start knowing who the head of the phone company is. You know, you've seen him being wheeled around these days. But you know, there aren't many Chinese companies that are global players across the world in their own industry.
Oh my God, Ian, you're so far away. Look at all the things that you have from Xiaomi, from
Huawei.
People
don't hear. Yeah, but Huawei, yes, they're now the next. You know, they're the big brand everyone knows. And then DJI. You know, if you think of electronic goods that you use, that you know, you've got Huawei is a known brand. DJI is a now. You know, with
on the small niche of techies that want to fly drones.
Yeah,
and that's 0.5% of the population in general. Although, and if you go to Xiaomi's and Huawei's, that's the rest of the 99.5%. But even so, we don't know who is we don't have a Steve Jobs or a Elon Musk type of figure coming from.
Been good.
Companies.
No.
Been good. He's the only Chinese one I know.
Bang good.
Oh, Bang is it? Oh, okay. But there is, I mean, you've got those Chinese brands like One Hung Lo. Most of the stuff I buy from China is made by One Hung Lo.
Yeah.
Come on, you have Banggood, AliExpress, and GearBest.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about the guy that runs AliExpress? He's a bit of a charismatic sort of figure,
isn't he? He's a bit of a nut. He's a bit
someone, isn't he?
Yeah, he's quite well known, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's perhaps the most well known of all.
It's actually interesting to see how some of the more known people are actually now coming under a lot of bad press. We've had Amazon this week, in the last week. You know, these guys who've suddenly, you know, the Amazon one's a bit weird. He's recently thrust himself, hasn't he, into the media. You know, no one really knew who he was 3 years ago, yet now everyone knows who he is. But you're starting to see these guys take a bit of kickback at the way they've treated their staff in the recent campaign, and perhaps as Louis said, this is why Frank's come out to just sort of solidify the ranks and say, look, we're still here, everything's okay, you know.
But isn't, in our brave new world, I hope, are we not going to rail about against me on it's also all about me and the greed, and me and greed is what Amazon and all these companies rely on. It's what makes them work.
that this is going to be a brave new world. It's going to be an entrepreneur's dream come true. After you have these economic downturns, many fortunes are made. There is always someone there looking to exploit an opportunity, and so many opportunities present themselves because of the massive changes in the paradigms and how the deck is shuffled. So I expect there's going to be a lot more me by a lot more people. Perhaps not at a grassroots level, but there will be a lot of new millionaires, billionaires made in the next few years.
Well, the guy who owns Zoom is not going to be far from it, is he? Let's be honest. The guy behind Zoom.
Well, yeah, if he can get himself unbanned left, right, and centre. But are those companies going to be just as greedy as before? Because it does reveal the idea. I mean, I find it quite obscene that people are worried about their alcohol deliveries via Amazon at 4 o'clock in the morning in the UK and a bag of chips or whatever.
But Jeff Bezos just gave an extra £2 an hour. Jeff Bezos just gave Amazon Works an extra £2 an hour in the UK. How about that? That's generosity for you.
But it's just all stuff that we don't need, and we don't need as a planet. But I suppose now it's cheaper. Now that we can go into the garage and fill our cars up and get paid to do it, I don't need to buy that Tesla anymore.
The thing is, there's two types of companies in this whole situation. There are companies who have lost huge amounts of money, and there are companies who have benefited from it enormously. And the situation we've now got is, and it's sort of gone under the radar, that the likes of the supermarkets, the likes of Amazon, they must be making an absolute killing, beyond a joke. Yet the everyday businesses are struggling and falling apart, but there's going to be no transfer of wealth between them, you know.
I feel so sorry for Richard Branson.
Yes, he's putting the island up as equity.
Put the island up as collateral.
Yeah, the last time I did that caused me no trouble with Sarah. When I
what about the EasyJet guy? He's going to feel it too.
Delios.
Yeah. I mean, he's on the bones of his bum, isn't he? Has he got? No, he's pretty fat, isn't he? Oh, I can't say that. He'll be a lot slimmer by the time this is over.
E-commerce is the prediction is e-commerce is going to be bigger than it's ever been. Even after this, people will continue.
Drone delivery to the fore.
So
there's people here. So again, I keep ranting back here, but basically our Civil Aviation Authority has shut the sky down. And Botswana, we were watching the aircraft today. Botswana won't even let in airliners across its airspace. So everyone's rooting around Botswana. And that's not a small country to have to root around.
You mean there are still airlines flying?
But
we have repatriation flights. Well, Tian from here, who works there, he's an airline driver, and they're doing repatriation flights. They're sending 2 crews to get the job done to various places, and 1 just in case. And then when they come back, all 3 crews go into 2 weeks of quarantine. So it's using an awful lot of air crew to get these flights done. But yeah, I mean, there's not a huge amount of flights, but that's what's happening here. It's
on the plus side, there haven't been many reports of drones near airports causing trouble, has there?
Nah. And where I was going with this though is the number of flipping people in our South African Facebook group that are saying, I need to buy 400 drones now, and they're gonna do this, and it's all been proved, and it's gonna be fantastic. We're gonna spray the streets, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, it's been proved by this, that, and the other. And you just think, no. And the Civil Aviation Authority are gonna let us. No, they're not. No, they're not. And you don't know what it's cost. But so if enough, where was I going with that? If enough really useful use cases can't be stood up now, it does rather put big holes into all these industry predictions. If we can't use them now in this international emergency, then what are we going to use them for?
Is an interesting one. Would you put money into this industry then right now? Because at the moment, I don't know if you caught this on Thursday, Bruce. I mentioned Fat Shark look like they're going to make a version 2 of Bifrost, or are working on it. Now they've been held up with the Chinese issues and things like that, but would you really put any money into anything for the next 12 months? Because I know I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't, because the demand's not going to be there. It's such a great degree of uncertainty. The demand will not be there. Most people won't be able to afford a lot of people, won't say most, but a lot of people won't be able to afford to pay their mortgages or put food on the table. If you've lost your job and you're reliant on taxpayer handout, which is going to be pretty meager because it has to go a long way, the hobby is, and as a business, all the people that are, the commercial drone operators, they're not going to have any work because the demand won't be there. It is really, people are underestimating the effect that this could have. But on the other hand, I've looked at it in New Zealand. I think we will bounce back pretty quickly. We've had this intermission. We can pick up. It's been short enough that we can pick up reasonably quickly. But if it's going to drag on for another month in other countries, that really, really gets hard. And then, of course, once you do get into that stage, the taxes are going to have to go through the roof to recover all that money that's been handed out, or you're going to have to use quantitative easing, which means that inflation will go through the roof. And again, you'll be really hard pushed to pay back your loans because interest rates will go up.
It is interesting. The UK hasn't had the redundancy yet, and it is going to come. We've had the furlough, which delays it, but at the end of that, someone has to pay. Furlough's only going to last 2-3 months, whatever happens, and then the UK will probably get the mass unemployment in probably August onwards. We'll probably see it. That's what it'll be.
So we're ahead of you. We already had mass unemployment before even this started. So
yeah,
there might be something in that being in a baseline country, though. The only way actually for us is up.
No, the only thing, Gary, that you have is a problem with the unemployment and crime rates. If you could join the two, you would lower your crime rate. You would lower the unemployment. You could get a little increase on crime, but your unemployment would go down. Now, the thing is, it really depends on the drone business. It really depends on what you're doing. I see a pickup in activity, quite impressive. The pickup in activity that we are on the commercial side of the drone business. We are seeing a lot of pickup and demand to be executed in 2 weeks. And we have countries here in Europe that industrial activity and commercial flights with drones never stopped during the entire crisis. So things are not black and white. We have lots of gradients of very shades of gray all over the world. But I don't think that the drone business it will fall on certain categories of the commercial side, but other categories are going strong.
I think to remember at times like this, when you have a recession like this, a lot of technology solutions do flounder because labor becomes very, very cheap. You don't have to buy expensive technology. You can hire someone for a few cents to do something because there are so many people looking for work.
Not only that,
I would invest in Zipline for drone bid, but we'll go through other reasons. Sorry, Lou, after you.
No. Not only the thing of workmanship costs. Because these days, if you go with fully automated systems, the requirements for workers is not that big. And I don't see a lowering rate of the human resources costs. I see it keeping up, and in some cases even going up a little, because companies and people are asking more due to the perceived risk of doing work at these times.
I'm just going to reply to Rybat now. He says, Dronebeard says, would you invest in Zipline? And Rybat says, hell no. So I don't know what Rybat knows. But what I would say is...
what Rybat knows is how to do an F-35.
Yes.
I think we all seen his F-35 mock-up. Have you seen it, Bruce?
Yes.
You should see one of those crazy pointing fans down.
Yeah, I did see it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think as to investing, would I invest? Because obviously, when I said to Sarah, we've got to put the island up as surety, for the other big job, then, we've got a bit of cash left over from that. I think I would, but you'd be very shrewd and you'd spot, because there is. It always feels like I'm down on the industry, and I'm not. I do see the industry expanding. I do see happy days ahead, but I see it for people with a skill that can be leveraged already. And the drone is just a hammer. It's just a hammer in the toolkit of people that already have skills. The people that are just going out and
your drones don't last, Gary.
The hammers, yes, yeah, that's right. yeah. And do you know what? You can't even make IKEA furniture with them. It's terrible. You bang, bang, bang. No, they are just a tool for making a carpenter a better carpenter, or whatever analogy you want to put on it. And those are the companies you want to look at, and they are growing around the world. There's surveying companies getting bigger and bigger, inspection companies like Louis getting bigger and bigger, but they're not the headline ones. They're not the people that are all over the news with bullshit press releases. They're the people actually working and crashing and carrying on. So
don't tease me with the press releases. That's something that we don't do, and we have to start doing because it's royal.
Well, I think you've got to. There's a sort of a fine line, isn't there, between going nuts with press releases, because people do have to find you. And I suppose I should say, of course, you should put press releases out and you should advertise, and that's just news and all those other things, I should say. But you can pick a company, you can tell how good a company is by how much noise. If it's still in business, it's not making a lot of noise, and you keep seeing contracts happening, you think, oh, they're doing something right. If they're making a lot of noise and you can't see how they're being supported, then you worry about those ones.
I thought you could tell by the size of the water feature in the foyer.
Yeah, well, yes, there would be that sort of thing. Yes, yeah. It's so those are the sort of companies. The question was, would you invest? Those are the sort of companies. Should I have that sort of money that I would invest in? Here ends that rant. What a long rant that was. But actually, what I would invest in right now is online education for children. We've just gone through that here. We've just stood ours up this on Monday. And Ian, I think you said Wales was starting on Monday as well. And one of the things we had today was one of the mothers complaining. One of the teachers had to send some more work on. Can you please... you could Google Classroom. You can log in any device. It doesn't have to be an iPad or whatever. This child's on an iPad, and she moans that it's very hard to photocopy the pages on the iPad. Can we please have the originals? I would log into Classroom anyway. So it's been that sort of a week for me. It's been that sort of. How's it gone there, Ian? Your rollout of digital learning.
It's been okay. All the platforms are in place. We've suddenly gone from having nothing to almost too much. It's been an interesting 2 days because it's that the kids are like, oh, whoa, and it's not as easy for us to figure out as you think. They're saying, right, print this off, do this, do that, and you're like, right, you need to do that bit. We've never seen this before. It's not as simple as them saying, you go online and you do this. There's some of this stuff. It's like you need to direct your child to do this, and you're going. It takes a bit more effort than you initially realize, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's not as simple as put them on a laptop online and let them get on with it. There's very much work involved.
Well, did you see that Raspberry Pi sales have gone through the roof since the Steam
I hope so.
Out? Yeah, because they're being used for those ventilators, for DIY ventilators. And I've got 4 here, and I use it as a desktop computer some of the time. It's just such a great machine.
That is exactly. I want to make sure we can do all our. That's why I said before we started. I said I can't find an SD card, and that's what I want the SD card was for this Pi to see if I can get everything we done. It's only a 3, but I'm sure it'll work. I'm sure it'll be good enough.
Yeah, the 3 is okay. The 4 is much better.
Yeah,
better connectivity.
Yeah. Bloody hot though, Bruce, isn't she? She runs bloody hot. The 4. She
does. I got some of this little cheapy stick-on heat sinks, and it's good. It's down around about 65 on mine. Yeah. And so
Ian but you just don't ever listen. If Ian says something runs hot, we don't listen to Ian when he refers to heat and electronics.
Yeah, I know, because he's probably got a LiPo on it. Charging.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He had to put the LiPo on there to hold the USB port that he knocked off.
Were they?
Yeah, that's right.
Let me share with you something.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, you see. It wouldn't take much. It'd never take much to get the story out.
All right, let's have a look. All right, can you see that?
Hang on, I've probably got to share it. Hang on, it's probably down here, and I've probably got to do this. There we are. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What do you think this is, Bruce?
It looks like a bit of DJI kit, is it?
It is a bit of DJI kit. This isn't a leaked bit of DJI kit. This is the board to my radio.
Oh, the transmitter board.
The transmitter board, which ended up looking like that.
How long you been knitting?
How long I've been there? Not long. Took a bit of. I spent 2 hours pinning it out. However, I have fixed the damn thing.
Oh, jolly
and
good.
I am back in action. Wasn't easy. It's not fully fixed. It's not 100%, but it works. It's fine. I've got 3 mode switches. Unfortunately, the pins were so close together, it was ridiculous. And I haven't got a scope to look down. But I managed to cross 2 of the switch pins. So one of them triggers aux 3 and 4 on the one switch, but that doesn't matter. But I got aux 1, 2, and 3 working. I've got the controls working on the left-hand side. I can go into the menu. I can go around. The only one I can't do is the one you can't use. You know, that one that doesn't actually do anything. I couldn't get that one working.
Well, that's a shame, isn't it?
It is.
So you can't use the one that doesn't work.
The only problem is it needs to be there to calibrate the remote, and I can't calibrate the remote. So I'm hoping I don't need to.
Using lots of flux on your soldering, because if you've got really fine pitch, lots of flux that tends to ball up, and you don't get the bridges.
It was one of those jobs. I did it and then covered it in hot glue, and I'm going to put a video out because once it was done and sort of working, it was like cover it up, pretend it never happened, but it worked. I'm back in action. So yes, so sod you lot. That's 2 of the things I broke. I fixed, right? So,
and what is on the printer now? What is
nothing?
Have you no masks? Have you finished making masks?
Masks have slowed down a minute. The printer's been printing parts for the printer. Actually, I'm replacing the rods and bearings. So I've been reprinting some of the parts on it because it's made from printed parts rather than the X-axis. When you take it apart, you will end up breaking it probably. So it's a good idea to print the replacements before you break them. So I've done that, but the bearings you get with it aren't great. That's about the only complaint with the Prusa Mark III's is the rods are okay, but the bearings are a bit shocking. They're not good. And I totally greased mine. I cleaned them in IPA. I greased them, but I've got proper bearings to go in it now. Expensive ones.
Fair enough.
I don't want to change them because it's working bloody brilliantly at the moment.
Do you use a GPS to get your bearings?
No. Just
no. He needs two GPS.
I think there comes a time when
there's a cube over there with 3 GPS units and 6 mags attached. No lie, because I've been playing with some stuff. So
and when they turn on 5G, none of it'll work.
None of it'll work. And there's 4 barrows, I think it is. 4 barrows, yeah. So there.
4 handles.
4 candles. So yes, So I fixed that. I fixed the remote. I'm tidying the workshop for us. As you can see, I've been tidying.
Any important gaming chair reviews coming up?
No, not yet.
No.
How much? That's the only thing that makes money on my channel, so I need to do something. I've got all the Pixel videos which I've recorded most of, but I've got to edit them, which will take forever. And I've got some test equipment coming, some new test equipment coming, some used test equipment coming. I'm trying to build my stocks back up again. Now I've actually got space for it. So.
And more Rover videos coming, I hope?
Yeah, I've got to get that finished now.
Yeah, you have, because I want to watch them. Hurry up.
I did the one the other day that you probably haven't seen. Have you seen the 3D printed parts where I showed what I did on that?
Oh, yeah. Then I woke up.
Why don't you put a motorized and flight controller on your chair so it'll move around the office? That'll be a viral hit.
70.
Autonomous gaming chair.
Put a prop and a motor on the back. So a big motor, a prop, something like a 2-foot prop.
Now he's just
I
being
can
silly.
tell you a story about that. I can, in a hot air balloon, they use a fan to inflate the thing,
Yeah.
big propeller. I attached a wheelbarrow to one of those once, went across a field. That was very good. It could only go straight, but my word, didn't we half go? It was very, very good because they come with wheels, so you just got to. Anyway, but that's another story. I was young, I was once, like Bruce, young.
No.
So, what else have we seen in the drone world this week, gentlemen? Before we knock it on the head.
Now we are all waiting for the 27th.
27th, yeah. Eyes down for a full house for a very ugly looking new thing from DJI. That can't be it, can it? It can't really be that thing that the photos of.
I think it
It's
is.
so
Honestly,
ugly.
I think it is. It's a shame. It really is a shame.
I'm afraid I can't get too excited about it. I mean, it'll be great. It'll be a great bit of kit. It'll work really, really well. It'll have great everything.
It's hard to get excited on the
new,
mid releases. Yeah, it's hard. These mid-cycle release, we're at this. To be honest, we're at the stage where the wow factor is almost gone. The big wow was last with Skydio, and that is still wow factor. And
we have the news from Skydio that officially announced they stopped production.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big.
Yeah, they've had to, and that's obviously probably going to delay any EU version for at least.
But did they ever? Yes, did they ever actually say there was going to be an EU version?
No. Adam said
no.
It was on the roadmap.
Yeah,
that was the situation. But their problem is now they can't make product to ship, so that's a bad position for any business to be in, isn't it? No one wants to be doing that, especially when they already had delays, and they had a lot of people's $100, I think it was.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
And the problem is people are going to want that $100 back in the current climate, and that hurts them even more, doesn't it? They are the last person I want to fail. I would love to see them. They've done something unlike anyone else. Therefore, they deserve their place to survive. I still fundamentally with the Autel say it's a Mavic copy. I don't care. You look at it, it unfolds. It looks the bloody same as a Mavic. The design is not stolen, isn't the right word to use, but it's certainly taken very much off. And actually, while I say inspired by, and while I say that, the one thing inspired by. I think inspired is probably even pushing it. The Cube, Philip has had his patent go through on the Cube module for the autopilot, which is now officially in place. So that went through yesterday.
So does that mean some of the other ones are going to have to stop making them that are in a similar form factor?
Potentially. I suppose it's time for them to start talking rather than say nothing or try to hide the fact. So it's going to be interesting.
So what does the patent cover?
The patent covers the modules. So it's the Cube design. The carrier board is open source, so you can use it as long as you attribute and request permission. But he has patented the Cube design with the autopilot in a cube that mounts to a baseboard. So if you take most of the Pixhawk designs, they're mostly like the original one with an IMU in a square, all in the unit, all in its one block, isolated or not, doesn't matter, but it's all in its standard housing. It's this separate cube method that
I'm surprised, because I would have thought there'd be a lot of prior art, not necessarily within flight controllers, but within general electronics, of having layered construction and modular bits that click onto boards.
Do you know what?
And patents are a crazy thing. You guys probably also know that recently a patent to that was granted for the thing of planning flights on a computer goes into a flight controller. Come on. Patents worked.
Yeah, and people have been doing. Yes, that patent that came out is what. Well, hang on, that's what everyone's been doing for years.
Yeah, patents are only a right to sue. They don't actually do anything except give you a right to sue someone that you believe is infringing your patent, and ultimately the courts will decide whether your patent is valid.
I think the issue with this was that Philip designed the Cube as part of the Solo originally, and then he descended it out on its own. CUAV have clearly taken inspiration from that design, yet it's not compatible. I think the problem is it is hard not to say it is a clone of it design. Now, rightly or wrongly, we can argue: is it right that you patent that design like that? Could they have done it different? Did they have to make it a cube? Did they have to do it so it looks exactly the same? And I think that's where the fundamental problem came, really.
Because patents don't cover the look and appearance of something; they cover a function, and that's why you have trademarks and copyright to cover look and appearance and so forth.
So what does prior art cover then? Oh, that's
prior art just means that someone did it before, because to get a patent, it has to be novel and not have been previously done. So novel means basically it's the first time it's been done. So you can't patent someone else that's something that's already on the market or has already been invented. You've got to show you did this yourself. So if someone produces prior art, they say, I did that 5 years ago, here's the proof. Your patent becomes invalidated unless you have referenced that prior art in your patent application and say, I have taken this idea and improved on it, so I'm patenting the improvement. So that's why patent lawyers earn so much money. I've patented a number of things over the years and made an absolute fortune out of it. No, but
what did you do about your island?
I believe with this, it's the chip on the module design, which is the cube, and the design of it connecting to a carrier board, and that isolated IMUs inside that cube design, multi-layer PCB. Something I haven't dug too deeply into it, but it's the cube section. It's a good thing for them. You know, it's hard not to say they didn't do that first, because they did. I think it'll be interesting to see what CUAV do, whether they'll do anything at all. You know, they may just carry on as they were. And I think the frustration is, if you look at it externally, why that design in Profi's ecosystem is there for a reason. So they have 5 or 6 different cubes, which are all pin compatible, with over 60 different carrier boards that have been registered. There's at least 15 consumers can buy. So the idea of the design is you can take that module and put it on any of those boards and it works. That they did that for that reason. I think the argument with CUAV is it's almost identical, yet there are no other carrier boards that are compatible. There are no other modules that are compatible. And even the new one, I don't believe is pin compatible. I did ask them and I was told no. So you almost think of, why did they do that design if it wasn't for an ecosystem? And that's the argument with it.
It's interesting to note that a lot of companies patent stuff, not because they ever really intend to enforce the patents or even that the patents are valid, but it becomes part of their intellectual property. It becomes an asset of the company. And it basically, if you want to get funding, you can say, we've got all these patents. IBM probably makes more money out of patents than out of computers. It's just a part of the whole business structure. You've got to do it, or when you go looking for finance, people won't be interested. How have you protected your property, they will ask. And if you say, we haven't, then they'll walk past.
That's what I always ask people when they're in front of me on Dragon's Den. Oh no, that's in another dream, isn't it? It's all fun. It was Amazon. Amazon owns most of our bloody industries patents, don't they? And they're rushing in to get this and the other. Kirk's mentioning in the comments, DJI did gift a bunch of drones to the police in the US, and that has caused trouble. The wildfires, that's the other thing for 2020, isn't it? It's the wildfires heading towards Chernobyl. That's topical for you. And then also that the Defense Production Act produced American-made commercial drones. Well, the news there is, Kirk, is that even the Air Force and the Army have exempted. They've made a mockery of the idea of not bringing Chinese stuff because they've carved out speed controllers and motors.
And read that Parrot went so far as to get U.S. manufacturing facility. And they're sourcing the components outside of China so they can comply. And also there's a big tender going on in France for drones for specific categories that I think at least one of the categories might be right inside what Parrot is doing. Parrot might become...
I know. I personally think it's brilliant.
The thing with Parrot is they're always flying under the radar. And you get some products that are interesting, to say the least. And when they launched the Anafi SDK, they've opened up a lot of possibilities for developers and interesting developments on the industrial commercial side. And with the thermal one, the things they've done it right. And let's see how it goes.
They've done very well. And that AR drone, people might laugh at it, whatever, but the technology at that time, back in the day, was so far ahead in that thing. It put everything else to shame. You've got to put it all in context of where we were. I can't even think of the year that the original AR drone came out, but it's a long time ago now.
I almost bought the V1 of that AR drone.
Yeah, no, I had one. And the V2 one. And they're really nice little Linux machines. All the sensors were in there. All the bits that became the Phantom were there, apart from the GPS.
The weird thing with Parrot is they've got the payloads. If you look at their payloads for their EBXB, all of that range, they've got the payloads. They're the one company who could really capitalize on it, but they just haven't really got a platform for commercial industrial use, have they? From a drone point of view, they haven't got. They've only just got even if it was a loss leader, they've got Pix4D, so that's a big feather in their cap.
Pix4D's got to be one of the biggest companies in our industry, surely.
They've got the technical ability to build an M200 size machine. Let's be honest, they can do that.
And the question is, I'm on the side of the M200 users and M600 users and even larger. My question is, should and are the M200 series the right drone, given the constraints on operation that such a drone causes? That's a big question, Ian.
And then if you actually take the EB and the XB, actually they are and what they're doing with that makes more sense. But people like multi-rotors, and you can't get away from that, can they? It's
today you can get an Anafi doing a lot of things that can be done or usually are done with the M200 series. And the thing is, even the integration with Pix4D, it's there out of the box. So I don't know.
All they got to do is make the hardware to sell the software. That's all they've got to do is that they don't have to make money on the hardware, but the hardware will. I suppose, though, their problem is they've got the software market, whatever they do, because there isn't another option.
The French military, the Swiss military, the American military, the Australian military. Hang on, let me try and find another military. They're beginning to sew up that hyper small market, and their competition is those what were those little tiny helicopters? The FLIR ones.
The ones that FLIR sells.
Yeah.
So they're operating in a marketplace where your competition is £45,000 worth of three tiny little things, which you used to be able to buy in a garage. I know they're better. They're better than that. I know they're better than that. I know they're better than that. But not much, and that's the competition. So it's £45,000 for three of these things here, or it's a naffy cost. But I should imagine it probably has not much bigger footprint, but 5-10 times the duration and 5-10 times better sensor and they're valuable machines.
Parrot did the right thing, opening up the SDK for the Anafi. They opened the SDK for the ground control station, and it really works. And you can get lots of things done with the Anafi.
Well, they've not played.
And given the physical structure of the Anafi, with the possibility of the camera looking up, 90 up, 90 down. Yeah. Oh my God, that's
Well, the only other player with that was the Falcon 8, wasn't it? And I can't remember what the Falcon 8 cost. and now you can't buy a Falcon 8 now. That's it, game over, done, adios. So,
and come on, the Falcon 8 for 7 minutes, and
yes, yes.
and the Yanagi flies for 20-25. Even the thermal model, and I've seen one thermal flying under a bridge, and I was really, really impressed with what the stupid drone was doing. And it was running a custom application that the guys that operated were developed in-house. So it was a custom application, and they were operating normally without any issues. So I think if Parrot managed to come up with something more fashionable, I think it's one player that will start speaking in a few months instead of the hotels of this life.
Well, exactly. All tells me too. Whereas Parrot have developed stuff from the AR stuff, they developed it from the ground up in an impressive fashion, and they've always been a little bit wacky. It's like Citroen. It's French company, just like Citroen. French, exactly.
French. It is.
It's French.
I used to work for a company that used French set-top boxes for digital TV, and honestly, there is certainly you sort of go, okay, interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, but if it works, it works. I mean, they are the quiet. Well, I said earlier, it's the quieter companies you watch, and they are the quieter company that's grabbing quite big contracts at the moment.
Do we think Unique can survive the year?
Do you think
Unique can survive the year?
Are you sure?
I don't know. I'm really not sure. I'm not seeing anyone.
But Unique. I think Intel has already dropped the capital from Unique. So
yeah, they dropped Unique a couple of years ago.
So where does the money come from?
I honestly don't know.
Well, I think we said. I think we said last year who's going to make it out of this year, and we didn't see this coming. We were already talking like that. Back in October, November, we were talking about who's going to make it through 2020 into 2021. And now look what's happened. So I'm going to blame Bruce.
For me, I've got three names. I've got Unique, Road to Riot, and I honestly still think they'll end by this end of this year. If it may be beginning to middle of next. And I think there could be another big spoiler from who's that big one in America? Horizon could be in trouble if the US rules go through, but that's if they go through. If they don't, Ready-Made RC was what there's been a lot of hoo-ha around them over the last 2 years as well.
I think all the little hobby suppliers are going to do it tough. I think there'll be a lot of amalgamation. There'll be a lot of companies buying other companies. And so you'll get some consolidation of the whole industry. You get some more big players who will just manage to survive until things pick up. That's normally what happens in these situations. The little guys get left behind.
But do you guys really think that we'll end up all buying stuff from Banggood? Because what I'm seeing is a big backlash against buying things from China. And this started with the medical supplies, and government authorities are starting to look carefully and perhaps even at higher costs, starting to source some parts internally. I speak US, I speak Europe.
But unfortunately,
on China.
Money talks, though. Money talks. It's a case of people won't have much money to spend, so they'll buy the cheapest thing, which will be coming from China. Principles are great until you have to put food on the table. And we're seeing people buying locally at the moment because it's the only choice they've got, because nothing's coming in or out of countries. As Ian said, a lot of the products over there are out of stock, but they're going to be restocked. And people are still going to say, do I buy something for $50 from my local shop, or do I just spend the $30 and buy it from Banggood and it'll be here in 2 weeks and back to normal? People have very short memories in a lot of these things.
Governments can put some serious constraints on that. And if you get those constraints in place to China imports, it will be quite the challenge to source those things. So even the banned goods and AliExpresses might get some issues getting.
But there are all sorts of free trade agreements in place which you can't just unilaterally overwrite, and you can't just go putting tariffs on things, because as part of the international free trade agreements, you agree to allow access to your products so that your products, or to other products, so you can get access to other markets. And if that all falls apart, you have massive protectionism, and everyone's worse off because nobody can export anything because it's not competitive.
You remember the Japanese import of vegetables and all that they would put, it was a free to import, but then you'll have to wait on a non-refrigerated container for 2 weeks. So when they went to health and safety, they would not be good enough to eat. So there are lots of ways to work around that. You know that better than me, Bruce. I think from other aspects of our day-to-day life, I see a backlash against Chinese imports, and people are starting to moan about that. Not only the governments, but people, general public is pissed off because the countries depend so much on the supply chain that mostly has its sources in China.
But look at my mate Rob, who basically got destroyed by Hobby King, because every other thing he made, they copied with his flying wings and all the various stuff he did, and he bailed. He had to bail, so he's gone as a company. He's gone. You know, he maybe he could stand up again, but it'll be very tricky to do. And there'll be loads of innovative small companies that have already been wiped out by him. So they've got the market. They've won.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the ways the whole world could go is everyone becomes insular. You rebuild those industries that have long disappeared, because here in New Zealand, they used to make stereos and radios and television sets and things all made locally, and it was absolute crap, but it was employing people, and it was reducing the amount of imports that had to be done. Countries may decide, let's buy local and let's do this. We could go back to the 1960s, and if you look back that far, you think, oh, they were great times. You know, but when you look at it behind the rose-tinted glasses, they were terrible times. Everything cost a fortune. It was crap. And, you know, when you think now, most families have got 2 cars. Most families were lucky to have an old 30-year-old English wreck that had the engine reconditioned 10 times. I think no one wants to go back there when you look at it closely.
People say cheap Chinese crap. What's some of the best products in the world are made in China? The iPhone, the Mac. These are products that are renowned for being some of the best made. So as Bruce says, we have this. We like to sit here and say, oh, it was better when it was British. No, it bloody wasn't. British Leyland was a load of shite. Cars, if you go to cars, we were the worst country in the world at making cars. Let's be clear on that, right? We've not.
Soil.
You know, it wasn't better. It won't be better, and it won't be cheaper. And when that guy with a Brummy accent goes, "Oh, it's 3 o'clock on a Friday. I don't want to do that," and sticks a fish in the back of your high
3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Yeah.
You know, 9 o'clock in the morning, and says, "No, Bruce is." We all look back. No, it wasn't. It was shit. Is the words to use.
Nicola's not old enough. Nicola wasn't around in the 70s. He's not old enough. He wasn't old enough to know about it. It was. You don't buy a VW and find an old trout been stuffed under the carpet because it was his boss made him work 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Good old TVR. You know, people used to scrape their names under the paintwork in TVR as well. If you looked at it in the right light, you see someone's name. That's right.
They used to sell.
And on that note, yes.
I think Aston Martin give them a little badge and a properly engraved badge with their name on, but TVR they just scratched it on by hand.
They did. They used to scrape it into the thing before it was painted. So in like 6 months, it would rust through with someone's
rust out through on where their names were when they were hacked off of people. Yeah, that's quite a famous story. That
the British still make cars out of wood. I mean, there's still heritage there.
yeah.
No, but
wouldn't go.
I was speaking more seriously. We see this with the flight controllers. Even Proficiency has established a manufacturing/assembling facility in US, and I think we'll see some changes going forward because all this Corona thing has exposed some of the failures of this just-in-time and sourcing the cheapest components. I believe we'll see some changes in the market, not in 6 months, but in a year's time. We might start more local, especially US, not so much in Europe, but I believe we'll see some changes on the market, and that might be an opportunity for the smaller retailers like RC Ready or whatever its name is. I don't remember. Let's see how it goes. I'm not so sure we'll keep on the happy life of buying a flight controller for $20 and a GPS for $9.
Oh my, the $9 ones are horrible. But yes,
they're there. You can buy them.
I know you can buy them. Yeah,
they work very well too.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been stuck.
A vehicle to crash and burn. Come on.
Yeah. The 180s or the 220s, Gary? Which ones?
220. Which were the awful ones? Hang on. Stand by, caller.
Which one's that?
Let's have a look.
What have I got you? I think this is a Maytag.
I'm afraid I'm a bit.
I have a PN880 and those work good. No problem.
10 hertz refresh. And
these are quite old now. 7Ms. Mine, they are old, aren't they?
Oh, that is old. I got an 8N, and it takes about 3 days to get one satellite.
Yeah, no, it's these ones. These were the is it Dalcar C? I think.
Sometimes I have to hold the drone up so it's closer to the satellites before we get in.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I've got a ladder for that. It's 22,000 feet long. Yeah,
that's an M8. Yeah, M8Q.
Yeah, but they're not really, are they? That's the thing. They might say it on this little Chinese label.
Oh, these are good makes. This is Matt. Was it?
There's one for the history buffs, for the older people around here.
The old folks, gosh, you can't get the cold for those.
No, you can't get the cold for those anymore. And then what other ones have I got in here? And this is a really old one.
Tiny little antennas.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's some. That is the no. That's not. That's one of the old ones. That's. Can you remember? Was the Range Vision OSD and all that sort of thing? I can't remember what they were called.
I have one of those. Arcbird used the same thing.
Yeah. That's one from one of those. Yeah. And the newer little antennas. Well, you can get the board mounted ones, which is just like a wire antenna, if you will, on the board, but I don't know how good they are. But what's the smallest one?
DJI use helicals on their Agris for the GPS.
Yeah, I have. Long as many years since I've had a helical.
I know that because I had to fix one.
Did you? Did it?
Tim crashed his Agris into a tree. trying to do building dives with an Agris, and it just doesn't work.
It's a bit of a spidery thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Fortunately, the spray tank was empty, so there wasn't as much mass in it when he hit.
Ian, do you know what's the latest kerfuffle with the Free Sky firmware for the receivers?
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, no, they lost the plot totally lost the plot.
Besides that, I just crossed my newsfeed.
Yeah. What's the words, Bruce? They've basically they've gone entirely proprietary.
Yeah,
and
it was coming.
Away.
You could see it was coming, and that's why I've gone Jumper. And Jumper makes some really nice little receivers, actually, some S-Bus receivers and some standard servo out receivers. I've been trying them out. They work really well, and they use, open standards. So
they've changed the start. They've changed the protocol, which means it won't work with any of your older stuff. You have to upgrade everything. But there's something else. I can't remember what it was. We talked about this actually in one video, didn't we, Bruce? I can't remember.
This one is new.
Yeah, they've made another change.
They've made another change.
It's even worse than before. I mean, there's no point. They're reading too much of their own publicity rather than actually providing what customers want. And the trouble is, you buy something FreeSky today, and if you go and buy a receiver for it in 3 months' time, it probably won't work. You have to upgrade everything with firmware. I just like the old days, when you just had to change the crystals to change frequencies. That was great. Back in the days of BMC and British Leyland, that was the days.
Get your antenna, get your frequency on your antenna. You're no good without your big coloured flag. Do we all remember this one?
Agnes has put a video
remember
out.
That one, Louis?
That's the.
I have one of those unused. That's a good reason why it's unused.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were actually bad. They were bad because that GPS was noisy as all hell. That's a 2. That's one of the original 2s, and I think it's got the controversial logo on it. But I've just been looking at it and thinking, I wonder if I could actually make it work. I wonder.
For ground-based vehicles, probably.
Yeah, well, that's what I use those little GPSs for. I won't fly them, but I'm looking at it and thinking, I wonder if I can remember how it works. That's the thing.
You can put it on Ian's chair. Put it on his chair.
You can all guess what it's for, which aircraft it came out of.
Is it a Bixler or something? Or
it's a Bixler. Yeah, it's a Bixler. Always a Bixler. Yeah, that's funny. The tat you end up with, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I don't have any tat. No.
Don't you? Just quality stuff.
Just quality
Piccolo,
stuff.
Piccolo at 20 Ks each. Rybat's mentioned the bloody Piccolo. But there's another story. Look, we've gone late. It is late. Let's wind this up, and hopefully not next week, but the week after. I reckon some of us will be coming out of our lockdown, which would be a good thing. Nicola will be able to get the his planes up and going, and he'll give us a run through of his GPS installations, because at the end of the day, his goes further than any of the rest of us combined. In one flight, he probably does my year's worth of flying.
What does GPS have to do with it?
No, I know, but your gear, your gear that you fly probably flies as far in one flight as I do in a year. So it's.
I've never been able to get to Bulgaria or where it is that Nicola lives.
No.
Where do you live, Nicola?
Say what now?
Where do you live?
Yeah, what about it?
What is it called? The country?
Bulgaria, yeah.
Oh, just Bulgaria. I I thought I recognized that mountain.
Well, that is a pretty specific guess.
I'm
sure I've seen that mountain before.
Yeah.
It's in everyone's things. Guys, thank you very much. Divya, wherever in the world. Stay safe, stay indoors, stay away, all those other things we're supposed to be doing at the moment. The end's in sight, I hope. I truly hope it is in sight. See you all again, 2100 GMT next week. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. And if you haven't seen it, don't forget to go to, is it XJet or RC Model Reviews? It must be on XJet.
XJet, she's on XJet.
Must go to the XJet channel and watch the crashiest crash video, Crashy McCrash face that ever there was. There are some pearlers in there. There are some pearlers, and a lot of me going, all that money. Some great stuff in there. So watch that. Even watch the mid-roll. Whatever you do, don't click away from any adverts. And we'll see you all again next week, 2100 GNT. Cheers, guys. GNT? I said GNT. Cheers all. Goodbye.